Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm so excited you decided to join me this evening. My name is Dr. Staci Holliger, and if you are a guest tonight, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out. I am going to share some information with you about Lifewave stem cell activation technology, as well as some of the other patches. Of course, I'm sure will be coming up as we have our discussion this evening. But before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. So I am not a medical doctor, and I am not your doctor, of course. So the information I'm going to be sharing tonight is for informational purposes only. It's not intended to prevent or treat or cure or diagnose you with any disease. If you have questions about your health, of course, please check with your healthcare practitioner or your doctor. So my degrees are in integrative medicine and functional medicine. I have a PhD in both. And so I've spent the last 20 years focusing on holistic health and different modalities. My specialty, of course, is in nutrition, which is the foundation, and detoxification, and adding tools as needed to help the body into balance, into homeostasis. And I found Lifewave just a little over 2 years ago when I was searching for things, as I always have been over the last 15 years, to help my daughter improve her quality of life. And I am not a stranger to stem cells. If you're familiar with stem cells, that is fantastic. We're going to be talking about that a little bit tonight. But if you're not, that's okay too. You're going to get to understand exactly what they are and how important they are in your life. For me personally, I found out about stem cells and the power of stem cells about 22 years ago when I was pregnant with my daughter. I actually ended up banking her cord blood as well as my son's cord blood back when that was not really a thing. I always kind of joke, I didn't even let my parents or sister-in-laws or family, anybody into the room after I had my daughter until the courier had left with my daughter's cord blood in the cooler to take it to a cryo facility in Cincinnati, Ohio. At the time I had lived in Evansville, Indiana. And so that was the most important thing, was to get that cord blood over there so it could freeze for the duration of her life, as well as my son's. And ended up having to use different types of stem cell therapy over about a 10-year span of time with my daughter. She had some injuries and different types of illnesses that had happened when she was 4. And so after we spent a year in the hospital, we got out and we got into everything holistic and into all different types of stuff. And the stem cell therapies that we did in and out of the country, many different ones, were a primary source of recovery and repair for her over the years. But when I found this technology just a little over 2 years ago, I will be honest with you, everything that we did for 15 years with her, these patches far, far exceeded any benefits that we had ever accomplished with anything else. And so we were able to help her improve her quality of life dramatically in a very simple, easy, effective, non-invasive, and very affordable way. We spent over $100,000 in stem cell therapy alone out of our pocket over a 10-year period, not to mention the other things. So know that a lot of people are like, well, how'd you get involved in this? And what were your health problems and your health issues? And for me personally, I've always been a very healthy person. Everything that I was raised on was, the garden out back, growing your own foods. My dad would go hunting or whatever. I wasn't a big meat eater, but everything was fresh, grown, and real. So we didn't grow up on anything processed, packaged, or any of that kind of stuff. We didn't go to the doctor. I actually only have seen a doctor once in my life, and that was the one that when I was 18, I had a herniated disc and a pinched nerve from slinging dog food and bird food when I was working at a pet store. And I went to the doctor and he gave me these medications, and I missed my finals that semester. And so I said, this is not going to work for me. I'm doing this again. And I went to the chiropractor immediately and got that resolved. And so I haven't seen a doctor since, and that was over 30 years ago. So for me personally, I have always chosen wellness and prevention and detoxification and vitality and real foods and herbs and nutrition. And so for me, I always wanted the stem cells that I was taking my daughter to get different places in the stem cell therapies because of longevity, because of prevention, and because of vitality. And I know the power of the body to heal itself. And the body's ability to do that is wrapped up in the stem cells. And so I'm going to talk to you tonight about our stem cell technology, but I want you to understand that you're born with an abundance of stem cells. We all have, well, the sperm and the egg come together and they form stem cells, and those cells turn into specialized cells, brain cells, heart cells, kidney, liver cells, and whatnot. But you're always left with an abundance of stem cells when you're born. That's why kids have boundless amounts of energy. They sleep like this. They can be in a crowded room, and when they're done and they're asleep. They fall out of trees, fall off your bike. How many times have you fell off your bike and just got up and took off and never missed a beat, right? Because your stem cells are always going to work to repair and regenerate. Well, what happens as we age is our stem cell production declines. And so we have stem cells that become dormant, which means they're not active. They're not doing their job anymore to keep you young and youthful. Well, by the time you're in your 30s, you have about half of those stem cells that are still active. Now, I don't know about you guys. I haven't been in my 30s in a long time, but for some people, I spoke with a lady today, just turned 30, serious digestive issues, serious gut issues, autoimmune issues. And she's so young. And I'm like, wow. I mean, to have that kind of thing going on is hard to deal with, right? But knowing that our technology can help her body to activate the rest of those dormant stem cells to get to work to repair her digestive tract and whatever else is going on with her. Well, by the time you're in your 60s, you have less than 10% of your stem cells that are active. That means 90% are dormant. If you are in your late 60s, 70s, and beyond, you don't have any active stem cells. They're there. They're just tired. They're wore out, and they are not mobile. And so what this technology that I'm going to explain to you tonight does is actually activates them. It mobilizes them, wakes them up again, resetting them back to their young, youthful, healthy state so that your body can go to work to repair and regenerate just like it did when it was younger. And it actually gets to the point where you are going to be reversing the functionality of cells and tissues and organs. And how can I say that? That's a pretty big, crazy, bold statement, right? Well, because David Schmidt, the inventor of this technology, the inventor of the X39 stem cell activation patch and the other patches I'm going to be talking to you about tonight, has done over 90 clinical studies himself personally and with other doctors, labs, researchers all over the globe, independent places, independent doctors, double-blind placebo. I'm going to share a website with you. I'm sure Leah or Laura, somebody will type it in the chat. It's startx39now.com. You'll be able to find all of our clinical studies there. David himself holds over 130 patents, most all of them in the area of regenerative medicine and stem cell technology. And we have a 20-year patent on our X39, our stem cell activation patch. And so know that what the information I'm going to be sharing tonight is not just hearsay or opinion or, well, it's anecdotal. This person said this or this said that. We actually have studies to show, to prove what I'm going to be explaining tonight, which is pretty amazing. And now I will tell you this, because I know you guys are going to start asking me about specific diseases or syndromes or situations that you're dealing with. We don't have any clinical studies on any diseases. Okay. So if you were to say to me, Staci, what could you use for diabetes, or what would you use for Parkinson's or Alzheimer's? I won't be able to share that information with you because we don't have any studies on those diseases. We would claim to treat or cure them. And so we don't do that. But our studies are based on cells, tissues, and organs and systems in the body, which we all do have. So if you're impacting those organs or those systems or the cells or tissues in the body in a positive, beneficial way with repair and regeneration, then obviously you could make your own assumptions as to how that is going to help you with your specific situation and the symptoms you're dealing with. The whole point of this technology is to get to the root of the problem. Stem cells get to the root of the problem. Stem cells are the holy grail of healing, right? They are what we call pluripotent, which means they can turn into any cell, tissue, or organ that your body needs. Your body knows how to heal itself. It has its own innate ability to know how to do that. If you cut your finger or break your bone, it's not the Band-Aid or the cast that heals the body. It's actually the body. The process is on the inside. And again, as we age, the body's ability to do that starts to decline as we experience what's called degeneration in the body, part of that aging process. And so using this patch is going to actually wake up your body's own stem cells, reset your genes back to their young, youthful, healthy state, and help your body to do what it did when it was younger, which is repair and keep the body young and youthful and healthy. And if you have been around for a while, you will know that we have over 4,000 recorded testimonials of people sharing their personal experience. Marcy Preble, who is a senior presidential director, and Peter No, who is a senior presidential director as well with Lifewave. Marcy's in my upline and Peter is my sideline brother. They have been doing these Zooms for a total of almost 4 years. And so I've been on Zoom with them a little over 2 years. And we literally interview people every single night, Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 people every night, new people that come on and share their personal testimonial and their experience and the symptoms they were experiencing and how these patches have helped them. So not only can you see clinical studies, the person that invited you here can definitely get you some recorded testimonials as well too, maybe specific to what you're experiencing, so you can hear what other people have to say about this. So let's talk about how all this is happening. So first of all, this is what the patch looks like. It's non-transdermal. So I want to talk to you about this. So this looks like a little round Band-Aid, right? Doesn't look like much, does it? But this little round Band-Aid, when you apply it to your body, does a lot. And this is what David has invented. He has invented the white part here in the center, what's embedded in it. So remember me saying that I'm going to talk to you about some of the other patches, and I'll get into those here in just a little bit. But this patch, the actual technology of a non-transdermal patch, he started inventing 20 years ago. And so this is not new. It may be new to you, just as this was new to me a couple years ago, but it's not new. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But what's invented in here, what he has created, is a proprietary blend of organic amino acids, sugars, oxygen, and water in a solution that form a crystal lattice structure. Okay. And so I want to say this because when I say amino acids and sugars, people think there's something going in their body. So let's talk about, again, non-transdermal. So you're probably familiar with transdermal patches: nicotine patch, birth control patch, estrogen patch, hormone patch, pain patch. They're putting chemicals or substances or nutrients inside of the body. That is not what we have here. There are no stem cells going into your body, okay? There's nothing entering the body. This is sealed. This is sticky on this side, and it is not sticky on this side. So what is in this white part, David has invented, which is a solution of chiral stereoisomers, the molecules, the amino acids, the sugars, the oxygen, the water that form together to make the lattice structure. Okay, so it's not sugar from your kitchen. It's not amino acids that you would take in a pre-workout, or amino acids, which of course are the building blocks of your body, not the kind you would ingest, but molecules that form together to form a lattice structure. That is embedded inside of this in the white part. So 2 polymer shells together, smashed together, and inside of this is what David has created. Okay, so know that when I put it on my body, nothing's entering the body. This is called non-transdermal. The beautiful thing about that is there are no side effects. There are no contraindications to any medications or nutritional supplements or herbs or anything like that that you're using or doing, because nothing's entering the body. So there's no interactions. When I got my PhD in functional med, one of the courses was on medications. The book is this thick. A to Z medications, and every single contraindication or interaction with every food, every liquid, every vitamin, every herb was all listed for every single medication. It was very, 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 very detailed and complex. So knowing that this puts nothing in the body, there's no contraindications, no interactions, because nothing's coming in contact with what you're currently taking, okay? And so when you put it on the body, how is it working then if nothing goes inside? Well, this is a wearable light technology. So let's talk about this. If you're familiar with light therapy, many of you probably have seen red light therapy. If you go to the esthetician, you get a facial, they'll put you in the dome after, or they'll have some type of red light over your face to help with the collagen, elastin, to help to detox the body or anti-age the skin, depending on what setting the esthetician puts it on. That's red light therapy. So waves of light that you don't see are entering the face to make a difference. Okay. If we go to, say, for example, the acupuncturist may have red light laser wands or blue light laser wands that they use on specific acupuncture points. Again, nothing entering the body, but yet something, a wavelength of light is, right? And it's causing some type of reaction inside, some type of benefit. I have a sauna here at home, an infrared sauna. And so I can go into the sauna and I can push the button that says detox, and specific wavelength of light that I don't see or feel enter through my skin into my body and detox my cells. I can push a different button and a different wavelength of light enters that works on pain reduction. Different wavelength of light, cardiovascular health. Okay, so understand that outside light coming into the body, we don't see or feel those wavelengths. They can be very beneficial, or let's be honest, they can be very detrimental. If you use a microwave, you are using very toxic wavelengths of light to destroy any nutritional value whatsoever in the food. And God forbid you stand anywhere close to it if you have one, because it's going to emit that into your body. Think of the EMFs and the 5G. Those are all toxic wavelengths of light entering the body, harmful wavelengths of light. Okay. And I think that's been brought more to the awareness here recently. But there are a lot of beneficial wavelengths. For example, the sun. A specific wavelength of light from the sun elevates our vitamin D. A wavelength of light elevates our melanin in our skin, which is an antioxidant. So wavelength of light can be very beneficial. David has invented a proprietary, again, blend of a crystal lattice structure that when we apply this to our body's light that we emit is reflected off the patch back into the body. Remember I said chiral stereoisomers? Chiral means reflective, like a mirror. And so I put the patch on, my light bounces back off that patch, back into the body in a very specific wavelength between 400 and 1,000 nanometers. The point is, it elevates a specific peptide. Okay, so like the sun elevates your vitamin D with a specific wavelength. This wavelength of light that's entering your body elevates a very specific peptide. That peptide is GHKCU copper peptide. It is responsible for a lot of things. You think A to Z and anti-aging, everything under the sun, health related. Go to reverseagingwithghk.com. You will see over 50 years of clinical studies and research and the benefits of elevating GHKCU copper peptide. How do we know that's happening when you put this patch on? Again, we've done clinical studies. We have blood work in our clinical studies showing the elevation of GHKCU copper peptide when this patch is applied. Well, one of the beautiful things about GHK is it actually resets a third of your genes back to their young, youthful, healthy state from the second you apply the patch. That process is started. Put it on in the morning when you get up, brush your teeth, patch on, back of neck, below the belly button, center of the chest, anywhere you want it. It does not matter. Your whole entire body is emitting heat or light, right? And we know that it's getting dark out here on the East Coast right now. And so if I were to go outside, I could see through night vision goggles, the neighbors across the street or the deer in the woods or whatever, because of the heat or light being emitted off of the body. So we put the patch on, immediately a third of our genes are reset back to their young, youthful state. You leave that patch on 12 hours, you take it off and you throw it away. And you're going to do it again the next day, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Well, one of the things that elevating GHK does, again, like I said, is reset the genes. One of those genes is P63. P63 mobilizes stem cells, your stem cells, activates, elevates your stem cells, gets them going again, back to their young, youthful state. Your stem cells know what is needed in your body to be repaired and regenerated and restored and rejuvenated. You don't direct your stem cells where you want them to go. You may say, oh, my back hurts, or oh, my knees hurt, or oh my gosh, I've got this issue or that issue, or I can't sleep, or my memory's gone. You don't get to pick where your stem cells go. But the beautiful thing about this is, over time, there is a compound effect. So the longer you use this patch, day after day, week after week, month after month, or year after year, like I am, the more benefits that you will receive in crossing the things off your list. I always tell people, make your grocery list of problems, all your issues, all your symptoms, all your conditions, all the things that are decreasing your quality of life. And know that as you use this patch, you're going to be able to check those things off the list. And I'm sure there are a ton of you on here tonight. We're over 250 people that have things that you've crossed off your list, whether it's medications you're no longer on, with, of course, the supervision of your doctor, whether it's ailments that you're no longer experiencing, symptoms that you're not having to deal with anymore. You've had pain reduction, a better quality of sleep. You've had more increased energy and vitality, maybe more mental clarity and energy. Maybe you've had faster wound healing. You guys saw me put the picture up of the Chihuahua last week with the dog that attacked it. And the cut was huge on this poor little Chihuahua. And within just less than 2 weeks, was completely a different scar. You know, the dog, everything was healing up nicely. And so we see that happen all the time. Last Thursday, I interviewed a lady that had a brain tumor removed, and it was horrible what it still looked like 30 days out, oozing and pussing. And just 5 days later, just 5 days of using this patch, and everything was completely smoothed over, like a month later, and you couldn't even tell she'd ever had any surgery, scar, issue, oozing, nothing. And her hair had already grown back. It was just amazing. But that's the power of the body when it has its stem cells on board and active, working to do what's needed for repair. So that compound effect, let's talk about that real quick. So you are, however old you are, let's say you're in your 50s. So again, you have probably close to maybe 20% of your stem cells active, right, in your 50s, maybe 25%. So you're going to use this based on your age to get up to your full stem cell regeneration again. Now, that doesn't mean all your things are going to be crossed off your list in that time frame, but it means that it's going to take time for this product to get your own stem cells all active and mobile and doing what it needs in your body. So it's based on your age, 1 month for every decade you are old. So if you're in your 50s, you're going to use this patch. Your starting point is 5 months. If you're in your 60s, 6 months, 77 months, or if you're like Leah and I and Dr. Clinchy up there, you know, we're in for the long haul. We're years into using this patch. And the reason why is because that longer we use that, not only have we crossed all the things off our list, but we're using it for prevention, for vitality, and for actually being able to reverse the functionality of our organs, our cells, and our tissues. And so we see by looking at our biomarkers, for example, for me personally, I am almost 50 and my biomarkers show that I'm in my mid-20s. So what does that say for prevention? What does that say for longevity and vitality? Right? When you have a heart that's functioning as a 25-year-old versus a heart that's functioning as a 50-year-old, that sounds a lot better, doesn't it? What about a pancreas or a liver or kidneys? We know the degeneration process is happening. It just does. But we also know that stem cells can go to work to repair, and they can help your body to do what it did and perform like it did when it was younger. So one of the things I want to share with you real quick before I open it up for questions is another patch, because you're going to ask me about your specific issues. And the patch I want to talk to you about is Eon. Eon is the #2 patch that David has invented. It was actually the #1 selling patch for years until he introduced the X39 a little over 4 years ago. Eon reduces inflammation systemically. And we know inflammation is the root cause of disease in the physical body. We know that. That's very common. We also know that most people have inflammation because of their diet, because of stress, because of injury, illness, accidents, surgeries. All of those things contribute to inflammation in the body. And again, unfortunately, there's that compound effect where it gets out of hand and the disease process starts to take over and the organs are not functioning the way they should. And so Eon is what we would call a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory. It signals a different peptide. This signals GHK-Cu. This signals a peptide in the liver that actually upregulates your SOD and downregulates inflammatory markers in your body, like fibrinogen and the cytokines and the C-reactive proteins and the fibrinogen and lipids. So bringing those inflammatory markers down. This also brings down your body's own nervous system into what we call a parasympathetic state. Okay, so you're either in fight or flight, go, 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 can't turn your brain off, can't shut your, you're just constantly worried, stressed, fearful, whatever that may be, or you're in that calm, rest, relax, digest state. Eon helps your body come down into that calm, rest, relaxed state. So what would you make an assumption on if you were looking at repairing and regenerating your body? Is it more apt to do that if you're in that fight or flight mode where your body's stressed and crazy and go, go, go all the time and you're anxious and you're nervous and you're worried? Or do you think your body would be able to repair and regenerate better if you were in a calm, relaxed state? I think you would be able to repair and regenerate better if you were in that calm, relaxed state. So we call this the dynamic duo, reducing inflammation, the same time we're elevating the body's own stem cell production, sets the body up for a more rapid and dramatic repair and regeneration process. So when you ask me about specific things that are going on, symptoms that you're experiencing, I'm always going to tell you to use X39 and Eon from day one. Every single thing, every single person, because we want to get to the root of the problem. That's what this technology does. And there are patches that David has invented. He's invented a dozen different patches over the last 20 years. And so different patches signal different peptides, and they work to be able to balance different systems or organs in the body. They all work individually of themselves, but they all do and can work synergistically. They signal different peptides, so there's no interaction or contraindication with them. People ask all the time, well, can I wear multiple patches? Of course you can. We recommend you start slow. Always start with X39 first, Eon right there with it, and then go from there depending on what your needs are. If you are in pain, you're going to use X39 and Eon. Reducing inflammation helps with pain, right? And sometimes we do see pain reduction with the X39 pretty quickly, but sometimes it takes time. Okay, so it's not a 100% going to get rid of your pain, but we know that Lifewave is the patch that eliminates pain on the spot. And so using X39 Eon, Lifewave as needed, this is going to help you so you don't have to take anything orally for pain. This is going to get to the root of the problem so we can address what's really going on that's causing the pain. So let's look at some of your questions that you had. So we have a new brand partner that's off of depression medication and has been on and off the last 20 years, would like to get off completely. Any patch suggestions? So we can see from our clinical studies, if you go back to startx39now.com, we can see how the X39 impacts the brain and helps bring the brain into coherence. So I would definitely obviously start here. And I would also start with the Eon patch because of what it does to your parasympathetic, right? Your nervous system, calming the body, bringing the body into that relaxed state. We call this our happy patch. So I would definitely use these two patches. If you're looking for a third patch, when we look at the brain, we also look at carnosine. And carnosine helps balancing left brain, right brain hemisphere, improving cognition, communication, does a lot of things. So you're going to hear me talk about carnosine probably a lot tonight, but it definitely helps with the brain as well too. So we have a doctor of veterinary medicine was presenting to ask what color the light wave is. I had no idea. She said all light has color. So that's a great question. So if you go to startx39now.com, send them there. There's actually a 52-page PDF that David has written, the story of X39, and he talks about the in-depth process of this. He doesn't talk about the light waves in colors, but as in nanometers, like I said, between the 400 and 1,000 nanometers to signal that peptide. We're not going to give an exact number because, again, this is patented. We have a 20-year patent on this patch, and everything is proprietary. So we won't be sharing the exact nanometer, but that's the range. And that 52-page PDF isn't on that website that you can send to them to read through. Okay, so someone wants me to address retracing. Brand partners are starting to experience that. So this doesn't happen all the time. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes it does, but I would say in my experience with just a little over 2 years with this technology, it is not common at all that people experience retracing. And what that means is, let's say, for example, you had an old football injury, okay? I know Dr. Clinchy's out there, right? When he's in high school and he's on the field, maybe he's running track or he's in football or basketball and he falls down, he hurts himself, right? Okay, so that's an old injury. Hasn't hurt him for years. Nothing's bothered him. He's good to go. And then all of a sudden, he starts using the patches and things are going great. And then he's like, oh man, I remember back when I, fell on the court and I, messed up my hip or sprained my ankle or whatever. And he starts to feel some kind of pain or issue in that area. Well, retracing is when your body says, oh, okay, I forgot about this, but I'm going to go back to it. And I'm going to address this now. So sometimes people have felt an old injury. And that's, again, not common, not the majority of people. You can see from our clinical studies, I've never had one clinical study that I've read, and I've read through all 90 plus of them, that's mentioned that patients, clients have experienced retracing symptoms. And we've studied people years out. So it's not a common thing at all. But if someone does, keep patching. That's the body working to repair that specific area. It will pass. Just if you need to use Icewave for the pain in that area, if it's a pain thing, then just put your Icewave on it. Put your Eon directly on that location. It's perfectly fine. All right, so we have someone says, my blood pressure is elevated. I've been on patches for over a year. What else can I do? I'm 60 years old. Whew. All right, so blood pressure, look at your sodium potassium ratio. That's a big thing. Your diet is really important for blood pressure. Obviously, stress plays into blood pressure. So does pain, right? Inflammation, those types of things. So when we look at the heart, we can see that every 6 weeks using this patch, the entire vascular system is functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger, which is incredible. But there are other things that we can use patch-wise to be able to help the heart as well, the vascular and cardiovascular system. So I mentioned Eon. One of the inflammatory markers that Eon reduces is fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is a blood clotting factor. We all have it. And most people have high fibrinogen. That should be tested over cholesterol. I would definitely ask your doctor to get your fibrinogen level checked. We can see a direct correlation to coronary artery disease with high fibrinogen level. And so making sure that comes down with Eon is going to be really important for the cardiovascular system, as well as I mentioned carnosine. Carnosine, that big antioxidant, loves to hang out in the brain. It also loves to hang out in the heart. And so carnosine repairs lean muscle mass and helps to build lean muscle. And obviously your heart is a muscle. The other thing is X49. X49 is David's most recent patch. This signals a daughter peptide to the X39. It signals AHKCU. So X39 is systemic, meaning elevates all of your body's stem cells. And so this is very different in that it activates a peptide AHK, which is alanine instead of glycine. And that peptide is responsible for repairing heart. We can see repair and regeneration in the heart, in the brain, in the muscles. So we do see in clinical studies, Dr. Holmes, 60 days a reduction in systolic and diastolic blood pressure with these two patches. We also see bone density improvements, the stopping of bone loss, reduction of body fat, and increase in muscle strength in our clinical studies. So those are your 4 options I have. If you go to my YouTube channel, DRSTACI, so Dr. Staci, you will see I have a cardiologist on my team, Dr. Mario Lopez, and I've interviewed him a couple times this year. And so he has talked more in depth about different types of cardiology things on the 2 Zooms I've interviewed him on. Do we have research paper that a Swiss orthopedic surgeon did on a 70-plus-year-old woman who was on bone and told David that using Eon and glutathione he saw growth in her cartilage? I do not know if we have a research paper on a Swiss orthopedic surgeon per se, but I have heard David talk about that, using Eon and glutathione to help with the bone and with cartilage. I have heard him say that before, and we do have what I've seen is a picture with Eon on one side of the knee and glutathione on the other. So when you're looking at stem cell therapies, injections, right? I talk to a lot of doctors that do stem cell injections, and they always have their clients on glutathione, typically high dose vitamin C or suppositories or high doses of supplements, because of what glutathione does for the joints and the cartilage, the area in between the bones. And so when you look at the bone, say bone on bone situation, there should be what's called, like, let's say a sponge. Picture the dish sponge that your grandma used to have that sat on the side of the sink, and it was hard as a rock, right? Like a brick. And then she'd put it underneath the faucet and run it underwater, and then poof, all of a sudden she'd use it to clean all the dishes. One side had the green pad on it so she could scrub the pans or whatever. Do you guys remember that? Or is that a Midwest thing? I don't know. Johnny looks like she does. So that is kind of like bone on bone, hard dish sponge, right? Glutathione goes poof like the water, and it makes everything really nice and spongy in between. And so I'm not saying we have a study that says this. We do have clinical studies on joint and flexibility and things like that with glutathione, but just from speaking with other doctors that do stem cell therapies, they all use glutathione because of what it does to help with the cartilage and that area in between, that synovial fluid and everything in between the bones. Okay, would you consider making 1 or 2? Oh, sorry. Okay, I thought it was a question about this. Let's see. How can it be non-transdermal when it creates a reaction? Okay, so I'm sure I've already explained that process. Red light therapy. Okay. Oh yeah, let's talk about hydration. Okay, water. Water is super important. So we know as you age, your cells become more and more dehydrated. And we also know that most people are dehydrated. Okay, it's just part of life, unfortunately, that people don't like water. They like all the fruity, fake, chemical-filled types of drinks or coffees or things like that. And so water is very important for your body, for your longevity and your vitality, of course, but it's also important for this technology. Your cells are light. We emit light, and we know, of course, as we age, that light decreases as the cells dehydrate. And so using the patches is a light technology working at the speed of light inside of your body, a biophotonic exchange of information. You need water for the conductivity of your cells. So it's very important that you're staying hydrated, and not just hydrated as in half your body weight in ounces in water, which is very important, but also making sure that you have electrolytes. You know, somebody asked earlier about their blood pressure, sodium, potassium. Most people, I would say 90% of people from the studies I've read, are deficient in potassium. Their sodium is through the roof, and not the right kind of sodium. Sodium from fried foods, processed packaged foods, frozen and canned foods full of preservatives. And so that, oh, this beautiful chicken breast, it's done nothing but literally slammed full of salt to make it big and plump and juicy for you, but that's not healthy for you. And so looking at that sodium, I'm talking about making sure that you have the right kind of electrolytes. Celtic Sea salt is really important. If you put even just a crystal on your tongue before you have a glass of water, that helps to pull the salts into your tissues, into your cells, to pull that hydration into your cells is really a big part of what sea salt does. Celtic sea salt, pink Himalayan sea salt. So definitely getting your electrolytes is really important. Potassium, magnesium, those are very, very, very important. About 70% of the population is deficient in magnesium. So if you're not taking some type of magnesium supplement, you might want to look into that, or magnesium Epsom salt baths, or making sure that the food that you're eating, even electrolyte powder. I love my electrolyte powder. I use that every single morning. I have an electrolyte amino acid blend. I do that every morning when I wake up to make sure the first thing I'm doing is getting good electrolytes and amino acids. Of course, lemon water, flushing out the liver, vitally important in the morning when you wake up. So I do that every morning. So making sure you stay hydrated is key to your success with this technology. Okay, let's see here. All right, so when we look at the brain, so we have brain injury, we have gut, we have liver. So looking at the brain, I would use the 4 patches I mentioned for the heart, X39, Eon, Carnosine, and the X49. All 4 of those are heart and brain. Gut support, we use the X39 Eon, we use glutathione, which is the master antioxidant, detoxer, and immune booster. So I mentioned glutathione earlier when I was talking about the stem cell docs that I talked to, and they use high dose of vitamin, right, drips and things like that, and they use glutathione pushes at the end, and of course they use suppositories or supplements. All of that is going to elevate your glutathione level by about 20 to 23%. It has a 7-minute half-life. When you apply the patch, you leave it on 12 hours, of course. It's actually going to signal up your body to elevate its own glutathione level and sustain it for a 24-hour period at over 300% increase. So that is huge for the gut and for the liver to be able to detox, to be able to neutralize toxins in the body and boost the immune system. So it is the master antioxidant. So definitely use that for anything in the gut. Really, honestly, we all need glutathione, right? We all want to keep our immune system up. We know how important that is today. Diet is very important. We don't have time to get into all of that tonight, but as I mentioned at the very beginning, of course, that my foundation is in nutrition. Proper nutrition, real foods, whole foods are your first line of defense. And we know today that everything has dyes and colors and paragraphs and you name it, it's not food. And it may taste great for the short term, but it's not feeling great in the long term. So we definitely want to make sure that proper nutrition is our foundation, hydration, sleep, exercise, fresh air, breath work, meditation, all of those things are vitally important to your health. Of course, this is a tool, part of your healthy lifestyle. I have mentioned parasite detox in the past, and I don't have really time to get into that tonight, but that we do that. Get back with the person that invited you, Krista. We have a page called Light Your Way to Wellness that I have created for my team for just to educate on all kinds of things, health and wellness. And so we do get a little bit more into parasite detoxes in there. You want to do that around the full moon. I like to use herbal tinctures. There's a company called Heaven and Herbs, and you can go there and it's called WW. That's their parasite detox. What would be best for overstimulation? So with your nervous system, definitely that X39 and Eon. If you have, let's see, if you definitely, glutathione is not a patch you want to use every day if you've got a lot of health issues or conditions. It does keep your glutathione level elevated for a 24-hour period. So using it a couple, 2-3 times a week is a great place to start with that patch. Unless there's nothing wrong with you. I put it on day 1 and use it every day. The oldest people on the planet have the highest level of glutathione. So pretty good indication in longevity when you look at those 5 blue zones. I was in one of the blue zones last year, Costa Rica. David took the senior presidential directors to Costa Rica, and there will be a group of us going to Sardinia next month, again, with David for a trip. So we're hitting 2 blue zones in less than a year. That's pretty exciting for me. So if X39E are the number 1 and 2 patches, where does X49 fit in? That's a personal choice, honestly, depending on what's going on with you or what your goals are. I know according to the company, we were talking to Garrett, he's the US country manager, and I Zoom with him every Monday. And he was saying, based on SKUs, of course, X39 is number 1, Eon's number 2, X49 is number 3, because of what it does for everything in the body as far as brain, heart, muscle, bone. It's an all over fantastic patch. So that would probably be our number 3, right there with glutathione. Honestly, glutathione is probably right there tied with X49 for number 3. I will have this recording on my YouTube channel as soon as I have another Zoom after this one, so it'll be uploaded after that. Okay, so after a year and a half, let's see, detoxing patches, protocols for arthritis, I would use the X39, Eon, glutathione, of course. We know that it, like I said, it kind of coats the joint. So I would definitely use those patches. And then look at your diet. That's really it. Inflammation is controlled very easily by your food. And so look at those anti-inflammatory foods. And I want you guys to be resourceful. Google, go to YouTube, Google anti-inflammatory foods. Those women and men are going to be up there making you all kinds of concoctions, showing you all kinds of smoothies or juices or elixirs for anti-inflammatory. So just go to Google and type in top 10 anti-inflammatory foods, and you'll see lots of different options and choices. So be resourceful for that. We talked about gut issues already. Is there any way? Let's see. Lower back, yeah, right? Okay, I love it. Okay, so we got a lot of chat in here, which is great. Okay, Teflon injected into my left vocal cord. Been on patches 10 months. I'm 83, polio survivor. Oh my gosh, you've got a lot going on, right? X39 Eon SB6 Alavita Energy Enhancer. That's fantastic. And Icewave. That sounds like a great lineup for sure. You can do X49 only if you choose. It's obviously a personal choice. I wouldn't do just X49 by itself. When we look at the clinical studies of just X49 versus with X39 combo, it's significantly increased. So I would definitely use it always with that. Let's see. So when people can't take in that much of fluid, there's no way to say how well the patches will work. You definitely want to be hydrated. So if you can't consume water, look at water type foods like watermelon, honeydew, cantaloupe, cucumber, things like that for you to be able to get some hydration into your body if you can't consume it because of your situation. Dr. Mario Lopez is the cardiologist I interviewed on my YouTube channel. Okay, so as far as your kidneys, what we have not done is done clinical studies on people that have had transplants. And so that is the one situation where David has said we do not recommend the patches because we don't know what the effects would be. When you are receiving an organ or have an organ in your body that's not yours, obviously you're on serious immunosuppressant drugs for your lifetime, and we don't want your body to reject that organ. If you're elevating your stem cells and things like that, could it potentially happen that your body rejects the organ? We don't know. Maybe, maybe not, but we're not going to test it. We would never want to put somebody in that position, so we can't make that recommendation on your organ transplant. Okay, so will we feel the effects of the patches immediately and externally, or will we know the benefits from internal tests, x-rays, and MRIs? That's a great question. Some people are in the One Patch Wonder Club. Some people notice a difference right away in minutes. I put a patch on my friend Laura, the very first person I patched. 20 minutes later, she could tell a difference in her shoulder. It had more mobility, the pain was reduced. For me personally, I didn't feel anything for 3 weeks. It was a week or so before my husband felt anything. Sometimes people don't feel anything for 5 or 6 months or so. I remember Rosemary, 85 years old, on a walker, lots of medications, didn't feel anything for 5 months. And then all of a sudden at month 5, she put her walker down and took off walking to the lake to meet her daughter and her husband. So, you know, it just, things change over time. And sometimes we don't feel the things that are happening. We don't feel our blood flowing. We don't feel our hair growing, right? But those things are always happening. And so if you don't feel it right away, that's okay. We see in our studies about 80% of the people notice a difference in 3 to 6 weeks. That's what we can see from our clinical studies. The other 20%, it's 3 to 6 months. You know, I know Bob Campbell, you guys have all heard his story, right? He didn't feel anything for over 7 months. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. He was ready to give up. He was in his late 60s. He's like, I've done this for my time. I'm out, right? And something said, just give it 1 more month. And everything started to change. And now he is here well over 2.5 years, and all the things are crossed off of his grocery list. So, and he had a lot. If you haven't watched his testimonial, please go listen to it. It's fantastic. So yeah, you can definitely see with different tests and x-rays, people have their blood work done. And we see tests all the time from people that go to their doctor's diagnostic. We see vision tests, hearing tests, teeth. Doctors talk about their dentist talks about their gums. I mean, we see different types of diagnostics all the time, which of course we do in our clinical studies as well too. We've already talked about digestive issues. When you look at your hands or your feet kind of going numb or having pain, we like to use Icewave. Of course, X39 Eon, but use that Icewave on the bottoms of the feet, the K1 location, white right, tan left, to help open up those energy channels. So we can't talk specifically about Lyme's disease, right? We talked about diseases. We can't talk about those, but when you look about imbalance in the body, the things that start that process to get the body in balance are X39 and Eon. Glutathione would be amazing, right? Carnosine would be incredible. Energy enhancer, which is David's first patch that he invented, would be fantastic to be able to help with moving the lymphatic system, opening up the energy channels in the body, helping to increase the mitochondria, that ATP in the cells, that energy. So those would be fantastic patches to use. Not saying use all of them on day one, but anytime your body's out of balance, I'm going to support it nutritionally. I'm going to look at how can I help to detox the toxins out of my body. So I'm going to reduce inflammation. I'm going to do things to boost my immune system and to get my body moving, right? Exercise is so important. So important. Let's see. There are no stem cells used in this technology at all. So Dr. Gloria, if you go back maybe and watch the beginning of it, I gave a thorough explanation of the technology, but no nutrient, no substance, no chemical, and definitely no stem cells are inside of this patch. This is a wearable light technology. And so inside of the patch is a crystal lattice structure that reflects our body light back into us, that elevates up the peptide GHKCU, mobilizes stem cells. Our stem cells get woke up, resets a third of our genes back to their young, youthful, healthy state. Again, when you're looking at the blood and thick, clumpy blood, you want to look at X39 Eon for sure. As patients detox, will they start bloating? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends. We're no one's cookie cutter here. No one is the same person as the one next to you. Out of the 260 plus people we have on here, nobody has the same body on the inside, not one. And so everyone's response is going to be different because everyone's situation is different. And that's what I really love about this is this is not this is the vitamin D you take, and this is the vitamin C you take, and this is this, and this is this herb and tincture. It's your body. Your own stem cells, your body knows how to heal itself. It was created that way. And so this just says, hey, remember what you did? Let's do that again. Let's wake up those stem cells. Let's get the body going again. So I love that it doesn't matter what's going on with a person. This technology will help every single one. Icewave is not meant to use 24/7. No patch is meant to use 24/7. 12 on and 12 off. So put it on in the morning, take it off, throw it away at night, wait till the next morning, or put it on at night. If you're doing Icewave, maybe you want that at night. Just don't do your X39, your X49, or your energy enhancer at night. They can increase your energy and you may not be able to sleep. 12 on, 12 off. Okay, so any information about ringing in the ears. So again, X39 Eon, you can put them behind the ears if you want to, one behind each ear, or you can also use energy enhancer. I have some people that use energy enhancer here. Remember, we have toxicity up here, okay? So you want to look at your carnosine and your glutathione, of course. Kidneys, when we look at the organs, I love that you just said kidneys and what can I do for that? So when we look at the YH series, which is the carnosine, the glutathione, the Eon, all of those patches have statistically significant improvements in the functionality of our organs in our body, as well as Alavita. So any of those patches would be very beneficial. Okay, so we've got time for a couple more questions. 17-year-old, 2 ankle surgeries, not due to bone issues. He puts the X39 on, his ankle hurts. Any suggestions? I would use the Eon to help with inflammation, and I would use the Icewave. But I would definitely, I mean, there's nothing wrong with I patched my 16-year-old. He had a sprained ankle from basketball, and I actually used X39 Eon and carnosine on him, 3 of each of those. He was supposed to be on crutches for 2 weeks. He was back on the court 7 days later dunking. So 2 weeks later, the ortho doctor had no idea how he recovered that quickly, because he did like the ultrasound and stuff to really look in there. And you know, a sprain's worse than a break a lot of times. So you can multi-patch if it's an acute situation or issue. David always says an additional patch is going to give you about 20% more benefit. So if money isn't an issue for you and you want to double patch, you can. For Trey, my son, in his situation, because it was an acute injury, I triple patched X39 Eon and carnosine all over his entire foot and ankle area. And I did the same thing when he split his lip wide open and should have had stitches. But within a matter of days, everything was completely perfect and good to go. No stitches were needed here and nothing was needed on his ankle. Let's see here. I think we have time for one more question. Let's see. I'm scrolling down through. We talked about gut stuff already. Anything to do, X39 Eon, Icewave, if you're looking at the joints and fingers and things like that. If you've had any kind of, that's a great question, any kind of internal surgical medical clips, hip replacements, pacemakers, defibrillators, knee replacements, all that's perfectly fine. Heart valve, pig valves, skin grafts, all that's perfectly fine to use the patches with. If you have questions, check with your doctor. See if you can use a non-transdermal patch, of course. Itching, when we look at itching, that's not common to get itching when you use the patches. So something must be healing itself, right? Think about when you have a scab, you know, an injury, and the skin starts to itch when it starts to heal. That's what that makes me think of. Let's see, last question. Yes, on Icewave. I want you to go to YouTube and type in Icewave Lifewave, and that will give you 5 videos that David has done. And those 5 videos show you many different ways to be able to use the Icewave to eliminate pain. We typically do white right, tan left. It works with the polarity of the body. But there are ways to move the patches around if that doesn't work immediately. Icewave should get rid of the pain instantly. If it's not, you haven't found the actual pain source of where it's coming from, and those videos will give you that information. So if you have any questions, I know there was a couple I didn't get to, maybe one or two, but if you have any questions, please get back with the person that invited you tonight. They're going to help you get set up with the patches that work best for you, with the pack that works best for you. We have different wholesale packs to pick from, and you can mix and match your patches that you want for yourself and your family inside of those packs. So thank you all for being here this evening. I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday and answering your questions.